What's up, everybody? It's Coach Kev. Like, comment, subscribe. We are back. The NBA, the National Basketball Association, the gift that keeps on giving. We are in the heart of the NFL season, but all we can talk is basketball, basketball, basketball. So who else but the Brooklyn Nets to bring us a little more drama, a little more talk, a little more media coverage with what they did today. The Brooklyn Nets have fired their head coach, Steve Nash, after going 2-5 to start the season. Funny thing is that they won their last game against the Pacers and then they fire him after a win, which is totally hilarious. They said that they're gonna possibly, this is out there on the wire, that they're gonna hire Ime Udoka, former coach of the Boston Celtics. Backstory for that, if you don't know anything about Ime Udoka, check out one of my videos in my NBA reaction, but I'll try to give you a quick glimpse of what's going on. Udoka has been suspended by the Celtics because he allegedly had a relationship with co-workers in the Boston Celtics organization. So he used to coach for the Brooklyn Nets. He was an assistant coach for the Brooklyn Nets. So now he's about to sign with the Nets as their head coach. This is just, bruh. The NBA has turned into the 90s and early 2000s wrestling, WWE, bruh. Nothing but drama. Hey, if people don't like to watch the regular season because they said it's long, 82 games, it's boring, well, you keep this up, NBA, and we are going to stay tuned. So this is from Adrian Wojnarowski, Woj as a lot of people like to call him, one of the reporters for the NBA. I think he works for ESPN, talking about firing Steve Nash. Let's see what he says. Let's see where they're going to go from here.
Here's our breaking news in the Sports Center out of the NBA. Steve Nash is out as head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Jacques Vaughn will be the acting head coach tonight against Chicago. This was a mutual decision between Nash and the Nets just 7 games into the season. Steve Nash no longer the head coach after a 2-5 start. So I want to welcome in our NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. And Woj, what can you tell us about the timing and how this decision went down?
Matt, this has been a discussion within the Nets with Steve Nash and management ownership here in the last few days as this season really just started to unravel. The 4 straight losses, the Kyrie Irving situation, and even with a win last night against Indiana where they blew a 24-point lead, had to hold on at the end. I think the fact that this team had struggled so much defensively, 29th in the league going into last night, that this was becoming an inevitability. And so Jacques Vaughn will be the acting head coach tonight against the Bulls. And I'm told that the Nets are expected to inquire about a few coaches, including suspended Celtics coach Ime Udoka, who had been an assistant in Brooklyn before he went to Boston, former Jazz coach Quinn Snyder. And I think the Nets may take some time here to try to see if there's another coach beyond Jacques Vaughn to try to get this season back on track.
Yeah, because it's early enough in the season, Woj, to where 7 games in, I mean, theoretically they could make an in-season move to get a coach in. Is that why they're thinking do this now to see if we can rectify this thing?
I think that's certainly part of it, and this is certainly an organization right now that is trying to just hold it together. And listen, we know what went on in the offseason of how close this perhaps came to completely breaking apart. Kyrie Irving leaving, Kevin Durant being traded, and I think for the Nets, I think Steve Nash, as much as he had struggled to start this season with this group, especially on the defensive end, I think I'm told he had reached the end for himself as coach, and that this was very much a mutual decision. This has been certainly more than a challenging group to coach. Certainly a lot of injuries. Ben Simmons, who's not been the Ben Simmons, the all-star Ben Simmons from earlier in his career in Philadelphia so far in Brooklyn. That's been a big part of this. That's certainly been a part of the frustration. Again, another game tonight with a sore knee. And so this is a Nets team that is reeling, and they've got a tough stretch ahead of them. They thought they could get some wins with the opponents they had here in the previous week. Again, back-to-back tonight with Chicago, but Steve Nash is out, and certainly Ime Udoka looms as a viable candidate in Brooklyn. I'm told that Boston will allow.
So he said challenging. That's putting it lightly. Challenging coaching this group. Anybody watching the Nets and watching the players and has played any kind of team sport knows when players have checked out and not listening to their coach. And you could tell that the Nets players were done with Steve Nash. He was just not getting through to him. So shout out to Skip Bayless. Called Jason Garrett, old Dallas Cowboys Coach Clapp. Steve Nash is the same way. Anything good happens, this is Steve Nash. Anything bad happens, this is Steve Nash. Anything happens on the court that's kind of confusing, we don't know the answer, he doesn't know the answers, the players don't know the answers, this is Steve Nash. After a while, gets kind of annoying. As a player watching the coach, everything is coach. I know I'm all positivity and all that, but come on. It's too much.
To leave for another job, whether it's a head coaching job, an assistant coaching job, if he's offered it. And so certainly I think that's a consideration. And Quinn Snyder, who stepped down from the Jazz at the end of last season, certainly a high-level NBA coach. He's still technically under contract with Utah. You'd have to work out compensation with the Jazz. And certainly those are a couple of candidates. Mike D'Antoni, another coach who had been on that Nets coaching staff. He's a consultant in New Orleans. So I think you would expect the Nets to look for more of a veteran presence right now if they don't stay with Jacques Vaughn.
Well, it's finally for me, and we'll get you out of here. This thing in the offseason for the Nets was an absolute disaster.
Please, no Mike D'Antoni. Please.
Including Kevin Durant saying he wanted the coach out. How much of the offseason and what went on lingered into the regular season where there was just no way for this thing to be recovered?
I think there was a sense, Matt, in the preseason that they were able to get the communication back on track. They were able to talk to each other. But I think what happens with this Nets team, you've seen it before, when they hit a rough patch, there has not been staying power to fight through adversity. And I think you saw another example of that here with the way the season started and then got away from the Nets. And certainly, don't discount this situation with Kyrie Irving and the stress that's put on not just this team, but the organization, the community in Brooklyn. And I think it's more than perhaps any coach would have been able to withstand. We'll see what the Nets do next year, but I think very much they're going to look outside the organization initially and see if there's a coach that makes sense for this group, and we'll see how long this group is going to stay together with the Nets. Certainly a lot of uncertainty, perhaps more change on the horizon, but it started with Steve Nash today, who is out as the Nets coach after 2+ seasons.
Yeah. All right, our NBA insight.
All right. That's it. God. Okay. That's a lot to divulge. So let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think about this decision? Do you think that this is going to head the Nets, propel them in the right direction? I picked the Nets to not only go to the NBA Finals, but to win the NBA championship. So I feel like this is the best for them. If they could get Udoka as a coach, he's a defensive-minded coach, teaching defense. That's why I said no Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni teaches no defense. The Nets already play no defense, so that's really not going to help. Their offense is not the issue. So Udoka would definitely be a plus for my pick for the Nets to go to the championship. How do you guys feel about the NBA in general? All this drama and controversy. I feel like the NBA is just talked about every single day. You think this is good? Is good publicity or bad publicity? All good publicity? Is it all good? Like just them being talked about, even more so or on par with the NFL? What you think about that? Is turning into kind of the drama league is what the NBA is turning into. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Like I said, I already thought that Steve Nash was not going to make it throughout the whole season. 7 games in to fire him, especially after a win. Wow, that's amazing, Nets. You guys are cold-hearted, but sometimes you got to make the tough decision as a leader for the best and the betterment of yourself and your organization or the team that you're around.